Hey everyone, welcome to this week's conversation. I promise this is going to be a fun one. My guest tonight's been making people laugh for more than a decade, and he's been making me laugh since the first time I watched a video of him performing on social media. Please welcome to the show one of the best in the funny business today, Drew Dunn. Hey Drew, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure, Drew. I've been looking forward to this and got a lot of things I'm hoping we can kind of squeeze into the conversation tonight. Your tour that you're on right now,
Yeah.
a date that's pretty important to me coming up in a couple months where you're going to be in our area. Want to make sure we touch on that. Your awesome specials that are available on YouTube and other
Yeah.
places for people to see, and whatever else we can fit in. But what I'd like to do, Drew, first is just kind of start out by taking a little bit of a trip back and talk a little bit about when and where it was that your journey in comedy began.
Yeah, so I mean, I was a fan of stand-up for a long time. I first was introduced to stand-up comedy. So I was born in the Boston area, and then for a chunk of my childhood, we actually lived out in Washington State, north of Seattle. And my dad got a job at Microsoft, moved the whole family out there. And then it was 2004, we were going to move back to New England, and we drove across the country as a family. And at the time, it was me, my four brothers, and then both my parents. And now I'm one of seven, but there was only five of us at the time. Drove across, and I mean, there was no like podcasts or anything back then, and finding a radio station in South Dakota was tricky. So my dad had bought a bunch of these. Uh, Comedy Central Presents albums and just random comedy albums, and then a bunch of other stuff as well. But we were just that was the first time I really listened to stand up, and I just became a fan of it. And so it was always on my mind to want to try it and do it. But I was so focused on playing baseball. I played baseball through college. I when I was in high school, I bullpen caught for the Toronto Blue Jays AA team.
Wow.
So I would go from my high school practice, go change in the utility closet, and sit on the bullpen out in the bullpen with the guys, and catch guys that are throwing way harder than they were in high school. So that made me feel like I had a chance of kind of playing at that next level. And then going through college, I ended up hurting my arm going into my senior year. I just started having this kind of shooting pain
Oh,
down my
wow.
arm when I would throw. Nothing was torn, but I basically just had like four really swollen ligaments that I would have had to take another year off, pay for another year of college, and
Oof.
essentially like red shirts. Because the way NCAA works, I don't know if you know, but you have 5 years to use
Yeah.
your 4 years of eligibility in any sport. So
Hey, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Malin Agency. If world class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs.
I would have hoped that by the time that year ended, I was healthy enough to play and that I would be better and stronger than the people that had been, didn't have to take a year to rest. So um, at that point, I called it quits. Went to my coach's office, had to stop playing baseball, and 2 weeks later did my first open mic. So that was like I just knew I had to. I find happiness when I'm trying to pursue something kind of larger than myself, some sort of impossibly long journey. That's where I
Yeah.
find like peace in a weird way. Where if I'm in a 9 to 5 and in an office, which I've done, I go crazy. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was like I did my first open mic in 2014 in Cambridge at a place called the Middle East, and I didn't know how open mics worked. I showed up at the showtime, I signed up, I was the 28th comic to go on,
Oof.
watched 4 hours of open mic comedy. I was so nervous. I just wanted to remember my stuff. But that's the thing too, is like if you watch a few hours of open mic comedy, you kind of realize it's nothing happens if it goes bad. You know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, that guy did it. I think I can. I guess I'm a little bit better than that. So it kind of ramped me up a little bit. Then that first show went okay. The next guy, I mean, there was like my dad, my brother, and his girlfriend, and one of my buddies was in the audience,
Oh, wow.
and then like one drunk guy, and then everyone else had left. So it was like it was enough just to kind of do it and kind of get that first one out of the way, and then the more I did it, the more I really got like addicted to it. I just wanted to do it as much as I could, any day I could, fill the calendar, meet new people, try and go on the road, and just see what I could turn it into.
Well, Joe, I have to tell you, as you're saying that, and it's, albeit for different reasons, because obviously you were pursuing baseball and things happened and you charted another path. But, over the years, I've done a lot of singing, and a couple of years ago, my throat kind of was betraying me, and
Yeah.
I took a stand-up class this earlier this year in January at Soul Joel's, which is a place we'll talk about a little bit later. And I took the class at a graduation show, and man, I was hooked from the first
Yeah.
night. And
Yeah.
the first time I did an open mic, I signed up, I was 27th. So I know what you mean when you say you're
Yeah. Yeah.
28th. It's like, but yeah,
Yeah.
there was something about it. Like I totally can understand how you just get kind of hooked and then just dive in.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you definitely get like a palpable dopamine rush when a joke gets a laugh, and then repeating that process over and over again of trying new material and
Yeah.
trying to get better, and then achieving those little milestones as you start out is really nice. I won a couple local competitions, which led to me working at some of the clubs more regularly, and then I won a couple of comedy festivals where I won the Boston Comedy Festival, then went out
Yeah.
to Seattle just to try and go back to Seattle, really, and ended up staying out there for a month to win the Seattle International Comedy Competition. That was in 2018. And then I did the Just for Laughs New Faces in 2019. So I was trying to really just my goal's always just kind of been to one up myself every year, and really just kind of compete with myself, because trying to compete with other people, you'll go crazy.
You know what? Those are wise words, and I think a great message for anybody listening or watching to pay attention to. It's all about just kind of competing with yourself. You're great, especially what I've noticed is in some of those contests, whether it's a comedy contest or a singing contest or things like that, it's you really just have to compete against yourself and see how well you do. Because I've seen contests where I'm like, how did that person win, or why
Totally.
didn't that person win?
Yeah,
That type
yeah.
of thing.
100%. Yeah, I mean those things are so biased, and comedy is such a uh everybody kind of has their own style. So if you don't
Yeah,
connect with one of the three people that are the judges that night, then yeah, you're probably not going to have as good a time as somebody who does, and you have no idea what they're going to do. So yeah, you have to just kind of do what you're planning to the best of your ability and hope for the
yeah,
best. But that's why for me, like making it to just the finals of any of these festivals feels like a win, because once you're in like the top 10 of something, it's really just like
yeah,
what do the judges like more. Um, I think competitions are important when you're first starting in comedy. I think they're far less important to me now. But they're a good way to kind of get a credit, feel like you have a little leverage to, like when I won the Boston Comedy Festival, I ended up reaching out to some college agencies just to try and do the college circuit and do those shows, and that ended up working out for me. So like those little things just to try and help kind of build up your resume, I guess, in a way.
yeah. No, that's great. Now, was there a moment, as you're doing these festivals and out there working, doing the open mics, all that stuff, where you just kind of said, I'm all in, and this is definitely the path I'm going to take, or was there a plan B, or like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so I think mentally I was all in like within the first year. I was like, this is what I want to do. I just need to figure out how to make that possible. And then it was doing those things, trying to make it so that instead of, hosting the show to make $50, maybe I could middle and make $150, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to cover my base of expenses. And I got to the point where I was doing a couple festivals. I did the Johnny Carson Great American Comedy Festival in 2016. So that was the first thing I ever did outside New England. I flew to
Wow.
Norfolk, Nebraska, which is Johnny Carson's hometown,
Yeah.
signed the wall of his childhood home, did a show in the Johnny Carson Theater. And but out there, I met a couple of bookers for, clubs on the road, like Zany's in Chicago was one of the first clubs that started booking me, and he would give me, a full week of feature work, and I would make a decent amount of money. But the problem was, is I was eating up all my paid time off at my job. So it
Ooh,
got to the point where I ran out of time off, but I was getting offered shows on the road, and I was kind of at that juncture of like, all right, do we just, play it safe and keep the job, or like
mm,
I'm breaking even on everything I'm doing right now. Do I just, say fuck it and go all in? And that's what I did. So yeah, yeah, and
wow.
then it's really worked out because that year I won the Boston Comedy Festival. That was my first year going full time. So then it was like, so that was 2017. I went full time, and then again 2018 Seattle, 2019 JFL, and then 2020 global pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then there was that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oops.
Not ideal timing for me on that. I just did the festival. JFL, if you don't know, it's like the festival where you basically meet everybody in the industry, agents and TV people. I went to, Comedy Central meetings and True TV meetings and all these different places. And then by the end of COVID, all of those people had different jobs or moved
Oh,
around, and companies were absorbed, that it was kind of for nothing. So that was the point where I really started focusing on the online content in a
Okay.
much more serious way. Where before I was putting out stuff kind of when it would happen, maybe a few videos a year of moments that stood out. But for the most part, I was just trying to kind of get funny before I was trying to show anybody what it was other than at a live show. Yeah, and then just trying to double down on the online stuff, and that's been the key to kind of everything now as far as getting to that next stage of selling tickets, having people come out to see me
Yeah.
specifically at shows, and yeah, kind of taking everything up a notch.
No, I think that's, it's amazing how there's the business end of things. So whether it's comedy or music, whatever form of entertainment, and I know that there's been so many people I've had on at all various levels of their careers. And one of the biggest things is the social media. Like when you go to, you're looking to get a job somewhere, one of the first things anybody's going to look at is how many followers do you have? How many views do you have? And your social media content crushes it. I mean, it is just
Oh, thanks, man.
you could click on whether it's a short, a reel, the best of, the compilations. I mean,
Yeah.
every one of them's a home run.
Thank you. That was a big focus for me. I appreciate you saying that because it felt like everything got so flooded on social media with stuff, especially after COVID, where everybody kind of realized that that's the ticket to everything. And I didn't want to have to be on a schedule of a clip every other day or a clip every week. I wanted to put stuff out that was really good. So
Yeah.
every time somebody saw me, it was good. The same way I try and treat my live shows. I'm not going to do a crappier show on Tuesday than I'm going to do on Friday. I'm going to try and put my best effort forward every time. And I feel like online, it should be the same way. And, it might take a little longer to get in front of as many people, but I think the people that see me, it seems to stick a little bit better than if
Oh yeah.
you watch one video, you like me, and then the next two stink. You probably won't ever see me again.
Yeah, and it's just I've talked to so many people. They're taking specials from 20 years ago and
Yeah,
chopping them into 30 and 45-second shorts and reels just
yeah,
to try to draw people. It's a and you can become a slave to it if you're not careful. So it is
totally,
it's
totally.
a fine line between quantity and quality. I think definitely in that space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in the sense of all of that stuff, like I know some guys that are really, really big on YouTube, with millions and millions of subscribers and followers, and their whole life is that channel. Their whole everything is scheduled around that. Every day they're waking up and doing that, which is great. But that's not what the world of stand-up comedy is. If I
Yeah.
want to be a stand-up comic, which is what I want to be, because I think all of those other benefits of acting and all that stuff will come down the road, as long as I can become great at this, that
Mhm.
why try to just flood with garbage instead of just trying to show people when it's ready? I
No,
don't I don't need a bunch of green bananas on a counter. I'll wait.
no, that's a great point. Now,
Yeah.
there's another aspect of your comedy that just absolutely blows me away, and I'm curious as to when it kind of entered the scene for you, and that
Yeah.
is all the different voices, accents, imitations you do.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are virtually flawless. So when did you start venturing out into those other voices?
Yeah, thanks for that. Honestly, it was really early on that I started doing different voices and things like that because when I was a kid, it was like a part of my life. I just had the ability to kind of hear something and say it and kind of repeat it out of my face. Uh, yeah, I've always kind of had a knack for that ever since I was a kid. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the show All That. It was basically an SNL for kids that was on Nickelodeon in the 90s.
Oh
That's
yeah,
where Keenan Thompson, who's still on
yes,
SNL today, got his start. Was back. That guy's been doing SNL for like 50 years
that's
essentially,
right.
with between all that and his run on SNL. Um, yeah, so they were doing like some funniest kid in America competition. I think I was like 10 years old, and I remember sending in a tape. I did like a Steve Irwin impression and a bunch of other random little voices that I had done when I was a kid, a nerd or whatever. Um, and I didn't get it, but it was still like I've watched that tape a couple of times, and it's like, yeah, it's always kind of been in my brain to do that. And I mean, that's what gave me a lot of the confidence to even do stand up in the first place was hanging out with my buddies and playing video games or just playing random stuff together or just hanging out, playing sports and just talking shit in random voices, yelling at them in a Scottish accent or a random drill sergeant or whatever it was, just to try and be fun. And that, making them laugh was like, all right, well, why don't I just do that on stage? Because I didn't go up with any sort of knowledge of this is a joke, this is how shows work. Like my first open mic was my first time ever on stage. I didn't like study comedy in the way of like that's a setup, that's a punchline, that's
Wow.
I never even looked at that. And I think that kind of benefited me because instead of trying to take these kind of obscure ideas I had and put them in a box, I just kind of said what I wanted to say and found out it was funny or not, you know.
Wow. No, that's really interesting hearing you say that again. I go back to, when I took that class earlier this year, and to your point, set up, punch, and
Yeah.
there's times when you can almost become robotic as opposed to just letting the thoughts kind of flow and hopefully they're funny. And like I said, clearly, with you, they are. In fact, I believe it's one of the videos I saw, it may have even been one of your specials. You start off with like a British accent or something. You
Yeah.
kind of throw everybody off and then just switch like
Yeah, yeah, that was my the Don't Tell first set
yeah.
I did with Don't Tell comedy. I did that, and then be off of that. I mean, that was just the way I opened show for probably the better part of a year or two. It was just so fun to pretend to be British for like 3 minutes and then be like, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I started working the Comedy Cellar in New York a lot, and they have such a tourist mix of New Yorkers type of
Oh
crowd that there were
yeah.
so many people from the UK that were in almost every audience. So I started doing crowd work as the British person to British people in the crowd, and that gave me a couple of clips that did really well online, and that's just fun for me to like and really put it to the test. Like, am I going to fool a British person with this British
Yeah.
accent, or are they going to see right through it? You know?
Well, I remember one of those clips from the Comedy Cellar where there was somebody off to your right, I think it was, and you fooled him. You had him
Yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's never failed. No one's called me out on it yet, other than one drunk lady that didn't even give me a chance, and then I had to just commit to doing the rest of the set British just to prove her wrong.
Well, I have to say, because I was going to ask you, like, what's your most fun, voice or imitation to do, but before I ask that, I have to say that when you start doing that robot, when the robots are
Yeah.
taking over, that kind of thing, that's actually scary because that
Oh,
is so
thank
dead
you.
on, man. That
Thank you
is
so much. LOL. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably the most fun one for me to do is that one because that's just like it's so silly. I never hear anybody do it, and it's just been fun to kind of play around with. Like once I started doing a joke with that voice, I kind of have to have some joke with that voice in my act just
yes.
because it's so fun to do. Um, I'm actually I'm doing the Tonight Show tomorrow.
Oh wow.
I just found out like 2 days ago, so I'm going to be on Fallon tomorrow night on Tuesday, and
Oh,
I have a
congratulations.
joke with that robot voice. It will be on the Tonight Show, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, that now when will that air? Do you know
It'll
when
air
that'll?
tomorrow night.
Okay, so that will air tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the time this airs, it will have been just a few days back. So
Okay,
I get
great.
to say congratulations in advance, and then when this
Thank you.
plays back, I'll say congratulations after the fact.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, and you can if you're listening to this now, you can probably go. I think it'll be up on their YouTube channel on the Fallon Tonight YouTube channel.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. I'm very
thank you.
happy for you, Drew. This
Yeah,
is
appreciate
fantastic.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited that the robot voice is going to be in that set. That's what I'm.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited and scared at the same time, I
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
admit.
yeah. I think America will be too.
Yeah.
No, the trick with that voice is I'm inhaling when I talk. So instead of like breath coming out like it is now, I'm actually like filling my lungs with air as I talk, and it's like almost like a pocket in the back of my throat. And if I start like a Borat voice, just like Borat,
And then I breathe in. It sounds like a robot.
yeah,
Wow. That is oh
yeah,
okay. That is because I do remember when you go into it, it's so seamless, and I'm like, how the hell is he doing that? Like, there's
yeah,
like,
because I can literally
Do it like
every other
word.
because I'm like breathing as I.
oh my God.
That's
So
the weirdest sensation because sometimes you talk so much you're like out of breath. If I do
yeah,
that voice too long, I'm like full of breath and I have to exhale to keep talking. It's the strangest sensation. Yeah.
wow. So man, that is unbelievable. So we talked a little bit about how you approach comedy. So when it comes to writing or putting things together, if it's not say that traditional kind of way where you go to the classes and you're taught certain segmented regimented things,
Yeah.
what does that process look like for you?
A lot of it is just kind of living my life, or things will kind of catch my eye, and then I'll write down a little note about it. And usually, once that happens, it's kind of just a little light bulb in my brain that it starts connecting dots to other things or examples I see, or a joke that I thought of 4 years ago that never had a punchline. Now maybe this thing that happened is the punchline. Like all those things start kind of firing off, and then usually I'll go take that little note and just try to write it out as much as I can and see if it's funny. It's usually like I'll write a paragraph to get a line kind of thing is what it feels like. And then from there, I usually take those lines, those kind of bullet points, and then bring that kind of bulleted list of like this punch, this punch, this punch to the stage, rather than like writing it out what I want it to be word for
Huh.
word, because then it feels like I'm kind of stuck on those rails of the way I wrote it, and I'm just trying to memorize it. Also, I don't type in the same voice that I speak in, if that makes sense. I think the way I type on a thing is emails and high school essays and
Yeah.
all this kind of nonsense that I wouldn't normally say out loud. So rather than writing it and then saying it and being like, that sounds weird, I just kind of cut out that middleman and just go up with the idea. And then it allows my natural voice to just kind of explore it. And it works that muscle in your head on stage of thinking actively and being present and not feeling like I'm just trying to think of what the next joke is.
Joe, I have to tell you, as you're saying that, earlier this year, I got to spend a day with Paul Mercurio,
Oh,
and
yeah.
great guy. He was playing the City Winery in Philadelphia, and we actually did our interview down there. And we went to he wanted to visit some famous spots in Philly and record a couple quick videos, which we did. And I had just started the class, and he gave me a tip that literally is, as you were just kind of touching on it. He said, because he was an attorney in the past, and I've worked in the corporate world for decades. He said,
Yeah.
don't write your jokes, speak your jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speak them into
100%.
the voice memo and then write, because that way your jokes will come out as you would say them, not as you'd write them. And it was
Yes.
so
Yeah.
true because they were so long and
Yeah.
verbose when I was writing them.
Yeah, because you're used to adding fluff or bullshit
Yes.
or corporate talk or whatever it
Yeah.
is to yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll never actually say nevertheless, but you might type it, you know?
That's a great point. And
Yeah.
I did catch myself before I got those words of wisdom from him where I was almost like it was almost like I was given a TED talk or something like that versus trying to
Right.
do stand up. So
Yeah, yeah.
it definitely helps with that approach. Now, if you would look back at the years you've been doing this, since 2014 when you kind of jumped in, Drew, what would you say are some of your favorite memories at this point, other than, the festivals, things like that? Or what are some of your favorite memories when you look back?
Yeah, I mean, definitely doing JFL as a new face in 2019 was special. That was great. I mean, it just felt like I was validated in comedy, that I was an actual stand-up comedian. Even though I already was, it just felt like I'd finally kind of got some recognition at some level from the business side of comedy. Um, I would say opening for Dane Cook and Bill Burr has been
Oof.
two of the best experiences I've had. I mean, I've done probably 50 shows with Dane over the last couple of years. I met him at a show in LA
Wow.
just kind of randomly, and we've gotten to know each other now. Yeah, anytime he's got a show, he hits me up, which is awesome. And he's such a great guy. And then yeah, Bill, same thing. I posted a clip online, and Bill happened to see it, and I ended up running into him at the Comedy Cellar that night, and then he hit me up a few days later to do a show with him. It was while he was doing his that run of on Broadway, so he was just starting
Okay.
to kind of do a couple of shows here and there, and yeah, that was incredible. So yeah, I mean. I mean, weirdly, it's like some of those long drives with just a couple of comics in the car, like I have some close friends in comedy, and just being able to talk talk shit about the business or your agents or
Yeah.
whatever it is, other comedians, and or just have some fun and shoot the shit. That's like some of the best stuff. I mean, uh, you don't realize I didn't realize I missed it and how important that was to me until the pandemic, because
Oof.
that hanging out in the green room and all that camaraderie is like so vital to kind of those creative juices, I think, flowing in your brain or before you go on stage that yeah, you're just forcing me to hang out with just normal people is not ideal. And my close group of friends I have that aren't comics are very much comic minded. You can say whatever you want to them and not worry about it, but still, it's a different kind of thing when you're talking with someone who's doing the same thing as you and kind of has that same
Yeah.
mindset.
No, and I've noticed, and I would say, Drew, over the last few years, I've had the opportunity to have some of the best, and I've had the chance to meet many in person, and there seems to be this camaraderie among so many, like up in the New England area. And before we
Yeah.
turned the camera on, I talked about Justin McKinney and Karen Morgan and Tom Cotter and Kerry Louise and people that I've had on the show and met in person, and just all great great
Yeah,
people. So I can only imagine it must be nice kind of having those who are going to get it and understand it, and
totally.
also kind of have that trust level to really bounce things off each other and all that stuff. That's got to
Yeah,
be huge.
definitely that. And I think New England really has something special compared to a lot of places of the country when it comes to that. I mean, obviously the legacy of so many great comedians coming out of there, but
Yeah.
it's one of those few places where it feels like people kind of look out for each other. If you find out somebody's from New England, then you kind of want to take a look at them or see what's going on. It's this weird thing that's kind of built in that I don't think a lot of people have in those other scenes where your people are kind of looking out for you and the region is kind of cheering you on when you go back and forth. You really do feel that.
No, that's so true. And like I said, I've had a chance to like see that and experience that from multiple people, including yourself. So I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic. So if we were to now look, here we are, we're kind of knee deep in the summer of 2025. So I'm going to get to a date that's a little bit later in October in just a
Yeah.
moment, but you've got the Tonight Show, as you mentioned, that's
Yeah.
coming up literally within hours of
Yes.
our
I will
conversation.
be recording 24 hours from right now. Yeah, I'll be on the
Wow.
stage recording. Yeah.
That is fantastic. So what else is what else can your fans look forward to over these next couple months in 2025? What else is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I just dropped a half hour special with Don't Tell. So that's out for people right now. I'm all over the road for pretty much the rest of the year. So, DrewDunnComedy.com for all those tour dates. I've done a lot of shows already this year. I'm planning a big tour for next year as well. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing now, and it's just more content. I
Hmm.
try and put out at least a new clip every week, if it makes sense, and yeah, that's the name of the game. Just more good stuff. Keep pumping it up, and we'll go from there. I'm hoping to get on some big podcasts this year and just try to kind of keep everything ramping up.
Well, there you go. And one of those dates I want to make sure that we touch on because now
Yeah,
it's a rumor that I heard. So now that I have you here, I need to make sure that it's true because what I'm hearing through the grapevine is that Thursday, October 2nd, you're going to be making your debut right near me in
yeah.
Pottstown, Pennsylvania at Soul Joel's. So, Drew, is it true? Are you going to be there October 2nd?
That is true. I will be there October 2nd. It's my first time at Soul Joel's. I've heard nothing but great things about this club. I mean, it's a club I've been hearing about for years from peers of mine and people that are further along than me in comedy. So yeah, I'm excited to check it out.
And I think, would it be safe to say that some of the things that we've already talked about in terms of some of those voices and some of that type of content that we might be able to look forward to seeing some of that on October 2nd?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's all I have. So it's all jokes, voices, and yeah. I mean, I always try and make sure that at least half of my shows live are brand new, not online. That even if you've
Hmm.
watched everything you could possibly have watched from me, that there's going to be plenty of new stuff for you to watch, and you'll still be able to see some of the stuff that brought you there. That's the goal.
Well, that's fantastic. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask something on a more personal level, and that is since Juan and your daughter came
Yeah.
on to the scene. So how has that impacted? I know obviously as I'm a dad myself. My twins are a little bit older. They were born back in the 90s, but how's that impacted you from let's say from a comedy standpoint, from a content standpoint, and
Yeah.
like I said, let alone how her name worked out in the one
Right.
special.
Yeah, not her actual name to be
Yeah.
clear. But yeah, no, I mean, it's been, first of all, it's been amazing. I love being a dad so much. It's been a blessing really, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. It's added a lot of, extra stress, extra
Hmm.
time that, I was already kind of short on time, but now when I'm here, I want to make sure I spend time with her and, not be on the road for long periods of time. So, in the past, I would do these runs where I might do a week in Vegas and then another weekend, then another weekend after that. And the wife would come with me. We'd be out on the road for a few weeks at a time, and it was a lot of fun. But now, especially with her here, I want to keep it to just, 2, 3 days out, do the weekends, come back, do spots in the cellar in New York and other places, and then make sure I have time to go back up to New England and see family. That's where my parents are. That's where her parents are. So just to go and add extra time, a few extra drives. But
Hmm.
man, as far as the content stuff, it's like a whole nother part of my brain has opened up. And I'm one of 7 kids, so I'm the second oldest. So I've raised a couple of kids in my days. But yeah, it's a completely different experience when it's, my own flesh and blood, and it motivates me. It makes me want to achieve what I think I can, and really start to kind of put the ducks in a row and let it happen.
No, that is awesome. That's great to hear. I appreciate you sharing that. So, Joy, I have just one last question for you, because I know you got big things to get ready for. If you look back, and we kind of touched on it from a slightly different angle just a few minutes ago, but I'm just curious, looking back at your journey thus far, what are you most proud of?
Honestly, I'm most proud of the journey.
Hmm.
That's been like, it's been so much ups and downs and doubts and victories and losses that it's, like I said, I've just tried to one up myself every year, and I feel like I have. And looking back, you kind of lose track of how far you've come in this sometimes. You can be so distracted by the problems or the things that you have to focus on right now that that's been the good thing about, staying in New York and being so close to New England, that when I go back, I can really see how far I've come. And it's been wild, man. I feel like I've grown as a person through this. I mean, I started this when I was 21, so I've really kind of formed who I am as a person through doing this, and the people I've met, and the places I've been. So yeah, that's just having, continued to push forward, I would say, is what makes me the most proud. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I couldn't think of a better answer myself on that one, Drew. So again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight. I want to wish you all the best,
Thank you.
24 hours from now and
Yeah.
beyond. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in October at the comedy capital of the world, Soul
Yeah.
Joel's in Pottstown,
Potsdam. That's what I
baby.
hear, baby. Let's do it.
All right. And folks, thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll see you next time. This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty and Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.